Our Lord speaks about the fidelity of marriage, that once man and wife are joined in marriage, they must not separate. And then in the Old Testament, divorce was permitted because of the weakness of men. But even then, even in the Old Testament, they did have the grace to be faithful in marriage, but they were just weak. We didn't have as much grace as today. And still, men are weak in their commitments in marriage and religious life and bearing children and being faithful to their duties at work and in relationships. Fidelity is in crisis today, and weakness is rampant because of a lack of prayer, lack of trust in God, lack of recourse to the sacraments, lack of recourse to confession. So people are relying on weakness and tending to weakness and tending to giving in and tending not to be faithful, not to really fulfill the will of God. It's the will of God. Whenever the will of God is clear, it's a matter of fidelity, a matter of prayer to fulfill the will of God, to obey His commandments, not giving in to weakness. Because the response to weakness is, where do I get the strength? From the sacraments, from prayer, from God. And if it's clear that it's the will of God, we must be faithful. And if it's the will of God, we know that God is going to give us the help and the grace to fulfill it. And so that's the duty that we all have, to be faithful to God and to our commitments and to our what God is calling us to do. So let us hang on to our commitments and make ourselves stronger in the Lord and not in ourselves, not depending on ourselves, and but depending more and more totally on the grace of God, which is always available to us by asking.